Hi guys, in this video I would like to show you how I built the J-35J Draken scale model in 1/48 from Hasegawa. Since I didn't record the entire build process on video, I've included a few clips that I managed to capture, but the main focus is on photos of the finished model, along with photos from the build itself and final images from a model competition where the Draken was displayed. For this build, I used all the aftermarket accessories I could find. The main highlights are the AIRRUSH cockpit, AIRRUSH landing gear bays, and the separate AIRRUSH flaps. One of my favorite details is the open cannon on the right side of the fuselage, which is also an aftermarket part from Gaahleri and adds a beautiful level of realism to the model. I had no major issues integrating these aftermarket parts into the model, and the overall assembly of the kit was smooth and straightforward. I slightly deepened the panel lines and rescribed the surface, but the build itself was trouble-free, and I have to praise the quality of the kit. Once the construction was completed, I moved on to painting and sprayed the entire aircraft with a black Mr.Paint surfacer. Once the black surfacer had fully dried, I applied white Mr.Paint surfacer to the panel areas. I worked slowly, spraying each panel individually so that the panel lines I had rescribed remained black. This is one of my favorite pre-shading techniques, as it keeps the panel lines nicely highlighted and well defined. This model was also the first one where I used Mr.Paint paints. Until then, I had mainly worked with Tamiya and Gaahleri paints, but Mr.Paint has a much finer pigment. It doesn't cover as heavily as Gaahleri, and that is actually its advantage. The paints can be applied in very thin layers, allowing you to precisely control how strong the pre-shading effect remains. This way, the panel lines are not flooded by a single heavy coat of paint. After the white surfacer had dried, I immediately moved on to spraying the camouflage colors. Although the Mr.Paint surfacer was dry within just a few minutes, I let it cure properly overnight before applying the camouflage. Since this was my first time working with Mr.Paint colors, I was a bit concerned about ruining the carefully done pre-shading. However, the paint did not disappoint at all. It was a pleasure to work with. Applied gently in very thin layers, panel by panel, allowing the pre-shading to remain clearly visible. As you can see in the video and photos, the surface finish is smooth, fine, and very clean. For the underside of the aircraft, I used Mr.Paint Color number 364 and combined it with Mr.Paint Super Silver. Mr.Paint colors are pre-thinned straight from the bottle and can be used directly without any additional thinning, which makes them very comfortable to work with. When it comes to metallic shades, however, I recommend thinning the paint with the original Mr.Paint thinner in a 1:1 ratio. Gaahleri leveling thinner should also work well. The metallic shade I used, Super Silver MRP003, looks absolutely fantastic once applied. It adheres perfectly to the plastic, is very durable, and does not rub off easily. One small but important note: Mr.Paint metallic colors should not be clear coated. Over the years, I've had the chance to work with several different airbrush brands and setups. I've used Airbrushes from Iwata, and I also have experience with the Infinity Airbrush from Harder and Steenbeck. Both are excellent tools, reliable and precise, and they served me very well for a long time. However, everything changed when I started using Airbrushes from Gaahleri. Very quickly, they became my main and almost exclusive choice. I adapted to them almost immediately, which doesn't always happen when switching tools. They feel natural in the hand, are very comfortable to use, and what I really appreciate is how easy they are to maintain and clean even during longer painting sessions. For most of my work I use the Gaahleri Mobius with a 0.3mm nozzle. It's my go-to setup for general painting, surfacer application, pre-shading and camouflage colors. The control it offers is excellent, and it allows me to build up paint slowly and evenly, which is especially important for my painting style. When I move on to finer work, such as small panels, subtle color variations or delicate details, I switch to the Mobius with a 0.2mm nozzle. This setup gives me the precision I need without feeling overly sensitive or unstable. What really makes this setup work so well for me is the combination of these airbrushes with Mr.Paint surfaces and paints. The consistency of Mr.Paint products, together with the smooth spray pattern of the Gaahleri airbrushes, creates a workflow that feels very controlled and predictable. I can apply paint in extremely thin layers, gradually build up coverage, and always keep full control over pre-shading and surface detail. This combination allows me to avoid heavy coats and prevents the panel lines and surface structure from being flooded by paint. The result is a very fine, smooth surface finish, which is exactly what I aim for on my models. At this point, the pairing of Mr.Paint surfaces and colos with Gaahleri airbrushes is my clear winner, and it has become my standard setup for almost all of my builds. Working on this model was a real pleasure for me from start to finish. I truly enjoyed every phase of the build, from the initial assembly to the final details. The kit itself is of very high quality, with good fit and clean surface detail, which makes the entire construction process smooth and stress-free. Even without any aftermarket accessories, I would confidently recommend this kit to less experienced modelers. It is forgiving, logical in its design, and enjoyable to build, making it a great choice for anyone who wants to improve their skills or simply enjoy a relaxing project. At the same time, once you start adding aftermarket parts, the potential of this kit really comes to life. With additional details, it is possible to turn it into a beautiful competition-level model. In my case, the combination of the solid base kit and carefully chosen upgrades allow me to push the model further and focus on fine details, surface finish, and overall presentation. That is where this kit truly shines. It offers a great balance between simplicity and depth, depending on how far you want to take it. I am including photos of the finished model, as well as images from the model competition where it was displayed. This way, you can judge both my work and the overall look of the aircraft for yourself. Thanks for watching, modeling friends. The next build is a Tamiya F4B Phantom, fully loaded with aftermarket parts. This time nothing escapes the camera. Videos coming soon.